Hey, everybody. Welcome to YMA Mat Chat. This is our third episode, and I am here with my master, sensei, whatever you would like to call him. He is the guru for me, and he is the owner of Yarwood's Martial Arts. I'm here with John Yarwood, and today we're going to step into a conversation that is near and dear to both our hearts, me as a business coach, and John as the owner of this school. So welcome, John.
Hey, how's it going?
Phenomenal, Mr. Yarwood. Phenomenal.
Awesome. Yeah, this is something I've been thinking about, really kind of this topic. It's obviously something that I think about a lot, but it really kind of bared some fruit for me this past week when I was in Denver at our World Championships, and our previous to this week we had a Grandmaster nominee, Chief Master Jody Horn, and this last Friday, he became our official Grandmaster, which means he's a 9th degree black belt. He runs our organization. He created our organization and all the stuff that goes into it, and he just this week just really kind of amplified the type of leader that he is, the example he sets for our organization, and the way we pass it on as instructors and students. So I just want to kind of talk a little bit about what I saw, what I've seen in him, and what it makes me want to be like, and what I want to do for my students and my school.
Well, cool. Well, I'm going to show a couple clips, and the first one is about 13 seconds long, and then why don't you explain what we saw in brief, and then we'll do the second one, and then we can have a conversation about that type of leadership right out of the get-go, because I think it's so important for our youth to start to see this, because right now in this political regime that we're currently living in, I would not say we have the greatest examples of leadership with integrity. We may have great examples of leadership that have gotten where they've gotten, but the integrity with which I think we're going to discuss is somewhat lacking. So here we go. Here's the video.
So I experienced the type of leadership that I want to be able to convey to my students this past week. And that particular video, that the man on the floor putting down the mats is our Grandmaster. Those mats are the mats that he performed on Friday night to become Grandmaster. And on that Tuesday, we had an all hands on deck call. We all went over to the convention center to help put everything together, because everything came about 4 to 5 hours late. So everybody was running behind. So I went over there with a bunch of our other students and school owners and just started getting to work. And that room is where the master ceremony was held. And Grandmaster was looking for some assistance because he needed some people to help him out to set things up. So we went in there, we started hauling mats in there, and then we started assembling all the mats, and he kind of just jumped in and started laying mats. So he and I were partners. I was putting the mats down while he was putting them together, and he didn't have to do that. He runs the whole organization. He's in charge. He can get people to do things. If he asks me to do something, I'm going to do it. I respect the man wholeheartedly, and I'll follow him. And if he needs me to do something, I do it. But even more so now, after seeing him just jump in, he didn't ask me to help. He just jumped down and said, "Hey, let's get this stuff done." And I was like, "Yes, sir." And we went right to it. He jumped down on the floor, started putting those mats down, and just got right to work. And in the next video, you see something else that he was doing as well. So it was pretty cool. But He was hauling mats. He was putting mats down. He was moving chairs. He was everything we were doing. He was jumping right in there with us. He wasn't complaining. He wasn't telling people what to do. He was showing people what to do. And to me,
it wasn't because it had to be a certain way and he needed to make sure it was that certain way. It had nothing to do with that, because it's just putting mats together, right?
Work needed to be done, and he showed us by doing what we needed to do. He never once said anything about having to do it. He just jumped in and started doing it, and we just followed, because he's displaying that leadership. The reason he is where he is because of the type of person that he is and the type of leader that he is. And I've experienced that with him. I've been with the organization now for 3 years, and I have never had any run-ins with him that have been anything other than him being a leader. And he's humble, he's intelligent, he's grateful, he's smart, he's friendly, and he's just been nothing but a great leader for our organization, and he's earned the title of Grand Master.
And how is that different from the organization that will remain nameless, but how is it different than that organization?
The other organization was much, much bigger, and in that organization, and this is just my personal experience, I don't know, there's, obviously there's still people there, but in my experience, I never felt like I was somebody who had any importance within the organization, that I would get, I would get assistance when I needed assistance. I would be having any of the tools provided to me that I needed in order to be able to run my school the way I wanted it to run according to the organization. I felt like I was just a number and a revenue stream to them. In this organization, Grand Master reaches out to me at least every couple weeks, either by direct phone call or text, or we jump on a Zoom. He's and his wife, Master Emma, those two, they practice what they preach when it comes to that kind of stuff. They make sure we have all the tools we need. They call us and find out if there's something they can help us with. It's constant. Every time I reach out to them, I get almost immediate feedback from them. I don't feel like they don't know who I am. I know they know my name. Master Emma even says she remembers the exact day that I decided to join the organization, and she's told me several times. Grandmaster, he makes himself very available to us, and we have questions, we have concerns. He recognizes those immediately, and just helps us out with whatever we need. But there's so many different opportunities that I've seen just this week of the leaders, the type of leader that he is in particular, and that they are as our leaders of our organization.
So when you think of leadership, and let's take it to elementary school or junior high, what would you say is lacking in the school system that when a student comes to do a martial art, they get to be trained and developed in leadership? So what's missing in the school system that is super present in the martial arts world?
There's several things that I can think of. One of which is something we're dealing with. It's our current life skills. Matter of fact, is discipline, and not just discipline where I tell you what to do and you do it, but self-discipline. Kids lack the understanding of taking care of themselves and doing the things that they're supposed to do because they're supposed to do them. There's a lot of times where either they don't do what they're supposed to do at all. They're not led to understand what they're supposed to do because maybe their parents or their teachers or whatever aren't displaying the traits of a leader to show them an example of what they're supposed to do. There's no accountability. They don't feel like they have to do anything. They feel like they should be treated a specific way just because, and they don't have any guidance to understand that in order for you to get somewhere, to have success, or to get the things you want, there's certain things that have to be taken care of. And that accountability piece, I think, is really huge, and it's missing in their lives. We get kids into our school that they don't know. And as students or as parents and as teachers, it's our job to be leaders to them, to show them what they're supposed to do, not tell them what they're supposed to do. It's easy to say, go do this, go do that. But if you aren't setting that example yourself, they're seeing it. Even though they're hearing what you say, they're not seeing it. And if you don't display it and you don't be an example to them, they don't know what they're supposed to do. So I think the two biggest things are the self-discipline and the accountability for actions.
It's interesting because one of the things for me that's missing, so many times I have the experience that kids don't know why they're doing something. They're told to do something, they're coached to do something, they're introduced to something. They say this is what we're doing now, right? And in all of those situations, for me, the big thing that always seems to be lacking in the conversation, and this is all the way, not just with kids and schools, it's all the way up into business, is especially when it's a task or something that's difficult, either difficult physically, difficult mentally, or time-wise, or something like that. And it's so missing in the space and in the education from parents and from school, that when it does come up and somebody does say, here's why we're doing it, the glaze in their eyes as to why you're telling me why is just, it's like I'm speaking a foreign language. They're just used to, yes, you have to do this, or no, I'm not going to do it, and you can yell at me and I don't care. And so there just becomes this attitude of I don't care.
Yeah, it's unfortunately it's pervasive because they're not taught any different, right? When we talk about leadership in our school, we talk about leadership from the point of every student in our school is a leader. Whether it's a positive or negative, we don't, they're still being a leader, right? If we have kids who come in there and they're goofing off, they're doing things they're not supposed to do, they're leading. They're not leading the right way, but they're leading, right? So we talk to them about, okay, we ask them questions to give us examples of what being a good leader is, right? So we'll literally do examples of, okay, say I'm the instructor and I'm standing up in front and I'm flipping my belt around and I'm looking around and I'm punching the instructor next to me. What are you guys as students going to think about that? What are you going to see? And then they always give me the answer, well, that means we can do that too. And I said, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. That's what leadership is. So if I come up here and I stand in a set and I do what I'm supposed to do and I answer loudly and I speak with respect to the people around me, I don't touch anybody else, what do you guys think about that? And they say, that's what we're supposed to do. I said, exactly. That's leadership. So it's not about positive or negative, right? It's making sure no matter what you do, people are watching you and they're learning from you. So make sure the things you do are the correct things. I always have the mindset that I'm always being watched. And when I have that mindset, it makes me think about, okay, am I doing something that is going to send the message that I'm supposed to be doing this or I'm not supposed to be doing it, right? Because as the instructor, as the leader of my school, everybody's watching me. And I set the culture, I set the pace, I set everything. And if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do as the leader, then I can't expect everybody else to do it. It's hard to say, you do this, but then I don't. That's the easiest way to lose students and lose their respect, lose their attention, lose their focus, is to do things that tell them to do something that I'm not doing myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, I take my responsibility very seriously, because I learn from my leaders too, like Grandmaster and Master Emma Horn, and my instructor, Master Garcia. They set the example for me. So then now I go back to my school, and those things are clear in my head, the things that I've seen from my leaders that I pass on to my students, and hopefully they're learning from me and they pass it on to somebody else. That's kind of the whole idea of the whole thing, is to teach them to be leaders so they can lead others as well, not just me leading them or a Grandmaster leading me. It's a trickle down, passes on.
Yeah, it's so for me, this whole conversation, when it comes to leadership, so many people think that leadership is telling somebody what they have to do from a position of authority, and then the expectation is that it gets done, or there's punishment involved.
Right.
And I think, yes, okay, so that's authoritative leadership. That's a type of leadership where somebody is, put in a position like a drill sergeant in the military. You will do this. Well, if somebody suddenly stood up in the military when they're doing and said, why? First of all, that would be just an opportunity for a tremendous amount of grief. Secondly, I don't think people know in the beginning why they're doing it. They don't know until they're through the wall. They've gone through all that there is to go through. And then at the end of the day, they can go, wow, I am so happy. I didn't have to, do all of those steps. And they were all included in that, fourth XYZ. And watching people, also watching leaders lead effectively. It's great to see the leaders, as you said, take on shifting, growing, learning, training, and developing themselves by the reactions of the people they're leading. Right? So in essence, there's an additional training going on with the person that led the conversation as almost like it's a retraining, because I think that we have these filters that we listen to, that we've gained, learned, grown with, acquired since we were kids, since we were infants. And at some level, we don't even learn what it is to have responsibility about our filters.
Yep, I think too. As leaders, not only are we showing our students what to do, or people we're leading what to do, but they're showing us what to do. You kind of alluded to it. When we're watching our students or our employees or whatever it is, we can learn from them how to be better leaders based on the response we get from what we do as leaders. Right? If we think we're doing something that's a great leadership skill or a great leadership quality, and the response we get is opposite of that, we have to reevaluate. Okay, was that really something a leader is supposed to be doing? So we're always adjusting what we do based on the response we get as well. So it's a ever changing, developing organism almost, that we respond to feedback as leaders. So if we're doing what we're supposed to do and we're getting the result we want, then we continue to do that. But if we're suddenly getting a weird response back, and not just one, but like several, then we have to reevaluate how we're leading and adjust and fix it so we're doing it what we're supposed to do. So there's no right specific pathway that's exact for leadership, right? It's always changing, it's always developing, and we're learning as we go. And we're leading ourselves as well, not just everybody else, so we can find out what path it is that we're supposed to be on and where it's going to take us.
And the other thing too, I think, to talk about leadership is because you started and you said it in the beginning, right? Is as a student and as a little kid, they are leading by example, right? If they're listening and playing, the people around them are going to be listening and playing. The other thing, though, that I think to add to that is that in the listening, we are learning leadership. So yes, it may be a little bit autonomic in the beginning. It may be, a little bit frustrating, just like it is in the military. Somebody says, do this, and they don't have time to tell you why. You just have to do it. Oftentimes I see people go home or go to their business compadres and yakety, 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 yak. Oh, I don't like this. Can you believe he said this? Can you believe she said that? I can't believe it. Rah, 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 rah. And yet, it would be so easy for that little tiny shift with parents and with teachers to train kids to listen for the understanding of the purpose, the why of what they're doing. Yeah, that's
and that's the whole thing. Like I said, it's learning as you go. Everything isn't always going to be exactly how you anticipate it to be. If you get out. So for me, I get out in front of my class and I start teaching something, right? And maybe I try a new method of teaching, and I'm going down and we're looking, and kids are just looking at me totally confused. And I have to, as their instructor, I have to recognize that and say, okay, this isn't working, so I need to find a different way, right? Part of that, I think, too, and you kind of alluded to it, is that they need to know not only what they're doing, but why it's important that they're doing it. And if they don't have that understanding, they're just going through the motions, right? And as a leader, I need to be able to recognize that they're not really learning from me. They're just watching me and doing what I'm doing, but they don't understand the reason that they're doing it, right? And like you said, if I don't explain that to them, and then I go, my class day is over and I do my thing, those kids leave. They don't know any more than when they got in there, other than, they may have figured out a new way to do a kick, but they don't, the aspect of the life skill itself is lost on them because I didn't explain why we're doing what we're doing. And when you add that part to it, the why, then it puts everything together for them. Then when they listen to me, they start to hear things a little bit differently when they're versus just following me. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but what
100%, because when you have an understanding of what it is and why it is, it gives you an automatic attraction to want to be able to accomplish the same thing.
Yep.
And then there's just a few little nuggets of pointers that are in the way from you being able to replicate it.
Yep. And I, as a leader, as an instructor, as a school owner, as a dad, seeing my students or the people that I'm lead do what I've taught them, and they start to do that with other students. We have a couple new kids who become instructors, and they're learning how to be that person up in front. Or
and how old are they?
9. Or watch my son teach, who's been teaching now for 5 years, and to hear me through him, because he's learned leadership skills from me. And then not only that, but take those skills that he's learned from me and create his own way. So he's learning the foundation from me, but then he's taken that to a different level. And it's that person that helped get him there, to hear that makes me feel really good, because that means what I'm doing is working, and I'm passing it on to my other instructors, to my students. It's awesome to see that, and it's very humbling as well.
Well, I think the other thing is, and I remember this from one of your classes, one of the instructor classes, and you pointed out specifically, look, guys, you're each going to develop your own style in the front of the room. You're each going to develop your own way of communicating to all the students so that they get what there is to get. And how you deliver it is going to be different than me and Mr.
Right.
James and Mr. Yarwood and Miss Denise. All of these people have a different way of communicating. The thing to remember, it's not good or bad. And so many people go, oh, that's really good, I want to do that. And it's like, well, wait a minute. If you're not your own style, if you don't find your own flow, it has a roughness to it and almost like an integrity issue, that then people look and go, well, it doesn't seem like he or she believes what they're teaching or coaching.
Right.
Because it's not theirs. So, and this is a perfect thing. Here we are coming up on the 30 minutes to be able to end with this. There is what I call that mastery of leadership, if we were to put a name to it. And that becomes a place where you've learned from different instructors, and you now then step back and you're now becoming an instructor, and you create and regurgitate your way of having learned it. And I think for me, this is imperative for people to see how they can use in their own life, with their friends, with their family, with work, with social, with church, whatever their community that they're inside of. They can use the techniques that they learn from one community in another.
Right.
Now, it may not be an exact 100% fit. What it will be, though, is an exact 90% fit. And then maybe 10% will come over time when you're taking that new material and learning mastery and ownership over that new material.
Right. Yeah, your leadership is not just when you are in front of people teaching people. It's when you are part of the group as well, listening to somebody else. You're learning from them. You're leading those around you by your actions and what you're saying, what you're doing, all that stuff. So it's not just an example of being in charge, right? And that's the biggest thing I tell my students is, like, you're always a leader. You might not always be in charge, but you'll always be a leader. And I like to empower them to understand that and tell me by what they do that they are being a leader.
Yeah, it's a very interesting phenomenon, and you just hit it on the head when you say do. In Western culture, it's do on the treadmill, basically, in life. And you'll have X, Y, and Z, and then you can be happy.
Right.
Whereas in Eastern cultures and what I love about martial arts is they say, wait a minute, who are you being? Let's look at being, because once we discover being, we can connect you to the doings.
Right.
Make a difference.
Yep. And then when those dots are connected, then the realization comes of what it really truly means.
Yeah. So with that, I want to say thank you for today's conversation on leadership.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. And remember the saying that Mahatma Gandhi said, if I have the belief that I can do it, I shall surely acquire the capacity to do it, even if I may not have it at the beginning.
Yes, sir.
So with that, Mr. Yarwood, thank you. We will see you soon. Appreciate your time and your commitment to YMA chat. And anything else you want to say before we go?
No, just remember, you guys are, everybody out there listening, watching, you're all leaders in your own communities. Whatever it is you're doing, you're always leading. Whether it's good or bad, you're still leading.
And in authentic words, have a great day. Lead on.